Well, we are here today to officially recognize some of our Southport Square women heroes right here at Southport Square. Super excited. I think that it's always interesting when we start talking about heroes and what a hero means to everybody. There's always different meanings of what it means to each person, and you can look up the definition in the dictionary of a hero, but I think more importantly it's what do we look at as a hero? Who are our role models in life, and what is important to us as individuals? So I'm going to start here. One, I do believe that every woman has a story. And I think as we look at the nominees here, some of those stories are pretty impressive. Every woman does have a story, and every woman does have a very impressive story of what they've done over their time. So today I do look forward to recognizing these 30-plus women, amazing women of Southport Square. There's going to be about 34, I think, total women that we're going to recognize today. These women are an inspiration to others in the community and beyond to do more and be more, and I think that's important. These women are extraordinary women who lead by example, live on purpose, and inspire others. They are everyday heroes, game changers, movers and shakers, and role models who portray courage, confidence, commitment, and integrity, making an impact to those around them. I think that's important as we progress here today, to just keep that in mind of every woman's story, what they've done in their lifetime that has made them a hero to whatever person that is looking up to them as a role model. So without further ado, I would like to introduce one of our speakers and presenters today, Lynn Matthews, who is the mayor of Punta Gorda. So please give me a round of applause for her.
Tell you, this is quite an incredible group of ladies that I just read about this weekend. I sat and read every one of the resumes that I got from Smita, and you guys are just incredible. I hope I have the opportunity to sit and talk with all of you at some point in the future, because listening to some of the stories that were told in the resumes was really amazing. And I'm really just honored to be part of this event, and I'm humbled at all the company I'm keeping, because you guys have some just wonderful, wonderful stories. Some of the people that wrote about all the career paths that you took was amazing to me. And many of you who grew up in an era where the women just got married and had families, remember those days? Yeah, well, I have to tell you, you guys kind of broke the glass ceiling way back in the day. And it's amazing to me to hear the stories of all the college degrees you all went on to achieve, and the career paths that you took, and some of the things that you did in your careers that really just amazed me. I wish my mother had taken a similar path, because my mother was a housewife for the most part, but she worked full time. And she didn't have the benefit of going to college at that time in her life. So she did go to business school, but she didn't have the benefit of going to college and getting the degrees like some of you did. So it's really kind of amazing to see where you all went with your lives in all of those years, and having some really outstanding careers and just major achievements was pretty eye-opening to me. So congratulations to all of you. I think you're all winners, and certainly I think that this is a time to celebrate you, and I really, really hope that you all enjoy this event today. I'm absolutely thrilled to be part of this, and I'll be around later to talk to some of you. I want to hear some more of some of your stories. But each and every one of you, many of you went on to be married and have a family and raise children while you were working full time. Some of you had single parent households. Some of you had lovely long marriages. The benefits of some of those things outweigh some of the things when we sometimes give up a career to be a family, or give up a family to have a career. That's the path I chose. So I just feel it's really great to get an opportunity to highlight some of the wonderful things that all of you have done. And suffice it to say, I had no idea of the level of character of some of the people that live here in Southport. I have many friends in this room who have moved here from different places around the community, and it's fun to see all of you too. So I'm honored to be part of this, and thank you all for being a woman of impact, and you've all inspired me to be better and to do the very best that I can do. And I look forward to the ceremony. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. So the way we're going to do this for the nominees in the back, I'm going to read a little summary. We're not going to be able to read their whole stories. They have pretty incredible, amazing stories, but we just don't have the time to read the entire story of every woman here. But we will go through and read a summary of each woman, and as your name is called, if you would proceed up on the red carpet, please. You can come up here, and the mayor's going to give you your award, and then we'll pose for a picture when you're done. And then if you want to take a seat, Smita, do you mind which side we start on as they come up? All right. So whichever side you would like to sit on when you come up here. So, all right.
We have two stand a little bit at the back.
All right. And I will just make note of our two sharp-dressed men back there. You need sunglasses to look like Men in Black, you know. But anyway, Carolyn Brock and Bill Bell, thank you so much for ushering today. All right. So this is, I've been told, and it looks like this is in alphabetical order. I did not go through the alphabet to make sure it was all correct, but I believe this is in alphabetical order by first name. So as we read through these, I need a taller podium, by the way. It's down a little bit, but I'm going to hold this up, hopefully not in front of my face. So we're going to start with Barbara Kinney. Barbara, come on up. Barbara graduated from Stonier Graduate School of Banking. She started her banking career right out of high school. She started in what was the proof department and then became a teller. She then worked in the loan department and eventually worked her way up to assistant VP in charge of the cash management department. She had the responsibility of processing several different products for corporations and a staff of over 25 people. Barbara has been making pine needle baskets for 2 years now and has won 2 blue ribbons. They are her pride and joy. In addition to making baskets, you can often find her at the Y doing a spin class, a step class, or a pound class. She has also participated in the Y Spinathon for 5 years, completing the Ironman competition. Another thing that she is truly passionate about is dragon boating. They practice twice a week and race all over the state of Florida. One of the main racing venues is Nathan Benderson Park in Sarasota. She has won many medals in both spinning competitions and dragon boating. Barbara Kinney. All right, next, Barbara Mitchell. See, it looks alphabetical already. So, Barbara Mitchell. Barbara went to the University of South Carolina in Columbia, South Carolina, and received a BA degree in fine art. While in college, she represented the independents instead of joining a sorority. From there, she continued her studies at Stetson University in DeLand, Florida, the National University of Mexico in Mexico City, and summer courses at various arts and crafts schools and workshops throughout the U.S. She flew a Cessna 150, and before going to her teaching job each day, she would go to the airport and practice touch and goes, stalls, etc. for an hour or two. That's pretty impressive. For a few years, she was an elementary art teacher, later becoming the art coordinator for two county school systems in Florida. Her teaching experience included teaching pottery classes, throwing on the potter's wheel, and hand building at the Ceramic League of Miami and at her own studio and gallery in Daytona Beach, Florida. While living in the Florida Keys, she designed and constructed a large forced air gas kiln using soft insulating bricks and a tall stainless steel stack so that in case of a hurricane, it could be quickly disassembled. More recently, she has been doing portraiture in soft pastels and oils, florals and watercolor, sculptures in plaster or cold porcelain, and jewelry pieces in polymer clay. Her work has been included in numerous regional and nationally judged shows, receiving awards in many of them. She acquired active membership in the Miami Watercolor Society and Florida Craftsmen, and was awarded signature membership in the Pastel Society of the West Coast, Sacramento, California. She was on the visual arts board for many years and had several solo shows and won several awards. The most recent being the Best of Show at the SPS Art Show 2022. Barbara Mitchell. All right, Beverly Spears next. So this is a tribute to Beverly by her daughter-in-law, Jackie. Beverly became my hero in so many ways. She showed me that you can be a wife, mother, and chief cook and bottle washer, while also becoming a world traveler. When she traveled, she always prepared home-cooked meals for her husband, Dutch, who was also an unbelievably fantastic person, for every day that she traveled. She always made sure he was well taken care of. There wasn't a country that she wasn't afraid to go of by herself. She was always full of, I can do this attitude. I don't know of any woman that would take off to climb the Himalayas all by herself. She was written up in the Indianapolis Star magazine in a Sunday issue upon her return. She trained for the climb by walking the golf course hills and other places that would put a burden on her for endurance. She ventured out to experience other cultures, religions, and ways of life in places like India, Iran, Far East, Near East, met so many interesting people, dignitaries, and just people who made her see how different but the same people were. She was an avid sailor and took her grandson on sailing expeditions with her. She will take a stand if she feels something is not right and needs corrected, and will do what she can to fix it. This lady, who was once shy, has become a friendly force to be reckoned with in a very positive manner. And you know what? I have been so lucky to have this wonderful woman in my life. I thank God and all the angels above for her every day. I love you. You are special. Beverly Spears. Next up, Carolyn Brock. Carolyn achieved her master's degree and supported her husband while she achieved this. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. While he achieved his. All right, so now I got that right. Carolyn achieved her master's degree and supported her husband while he got his. Did I get that right that time? All right. She focused her attention and efforts to the local American Association of University Women, or the AAUW. Through her quiet style, she assisted the organization to grow in membership and programs. The next goal was involvement in the local Red Cross, and through her untiring efforts, she was awarded a silver plate acknowledging her many accomplishments. After retiring to Florida, Carolyn found a fledgling AAUW chapter, joined, shortly was elected president, and began to infuse new blood into the organization. Soon their membership grew from 10 to 30, and they began raising money for scholarships for the non-traditional women wanting to attend college and improve their life, becoming more productive members of our society. Approximately 5 years ago, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. This did not slow her down. She remains active in AAUW, helped start a STEM program for her elementary school children, and visited several area schools promoting the program. It became a success, and through her efforts, the local AAUW chapter sponsored local children to attend a STEM camp. She also heads up Bridge on Sunday evenings here at Southport Square and plays at least 3 times a week. Carolyn Brock. Camille Fargo. After high school, Camille enrolled in nurses school at Riverside Hospital Nursing School. After graduating, she joined the Air Force, starting out as a flight nurse and stationed in Bermuda Air Force Base. She was confident and curious about the world to join the military and looked forward to being stationed outside of the U.S. She was promoted and moved up to the rank of captain. She was a role model to her children and always volunteered as they were growing, as well as worked as a surgical nurse. She always looked to learn something new, explore new hobbies, make new friends, which she still does now. She loved sports and watching her children play whatever sport they played. She played tennis and platform tennis, skied, and became a very good golfer. At Southport Square, she is actively involved in the Veterans Club as well as representative of several committees. When COVID hit, she was right here helping us make many masks, as many as she could, for all the workers before masks were available. She always tries to help when someone is in need. Camille Fargo. Donna Rinaldi. Donna became a registered nurse in 1960. In her first job, she worked at a hospital that had a small wing for polio patients. She requested to work there as she could be hands-on as well as help patients who were less fortunate. She received a full scholarship for the nursing rehab program in Boston University. This was the only nursing rehabilitation program in the country. She lobbied the legislature and influenced the building of the first rehab center in West Virginia. They ordered all the necessary equipment and she was able to train everyone in 1.5 years. She coached and provided education to teachers to help get spina bifida children to school. She influenced insurance companies to provide free assisted devices to enhance functional mobility. And she also lobbied and influenced the institution of the American Disability Act for the building of ramps. Donna Rinaldi. Donna Schweedy. Donna has a master's degree in counseling and guidance, as well as a master's in physical education. She taught physical education for 25 years at 2 different school districts in Michigan, as well as taught middle school counseling. To this day, she has 2 former students that she has had heavily impacted that still communicate with her. Donna loves nature and loves to garden. She has a strong desire to keep the community looking nice. And to do this, she started to pick up debris around the community of Deep Creek and continues to do so at Southport Square. She supports new residents and helps them settle in. She's a caregiver to a resident friend, and she loves to exercise and inspires others to do the same. Donna Schweedy. Elaine was born in Youngsville, Pennsylvania. During their centennial celebration, she was crowned Queen of the Celebration. After high school, she worked as an aide at a local nursing home. Elaine then went to work at Warren General Hospital in the typing pool. After a short while, she became the executive director's secretary. She retired from Warren General Hospital after 30 years. She then started working with Weight Watchers in the mid-90s and retired in June 2021. She drove all around the country to support her husband's marathons, even biking behind him during the races. They moved to Southport Square in 2016, and she's been volunteering here ever since. She loves to volunteer in the health center and assist the residents with their needs. Elaine will go to McDonald's and pick up a milkshake for one of the residents. She also bakes banana nut bread and other goodies for residents in the health center and assisted living. I'm waiting for some of that. Prior to COVID, she would help a resident to decorate her room for all the special occasions. She also assists residents with bingo every Tuesday and Thursday. She visits several residents of the assisted living on a regular basis. When Elaine bakes, she also shares with many residents in independent living. Volunteers do not necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. Elaine Neurotics. Jerry DeWitt. Jerry served the interests of homeless families in the late 1980s as Executive Director of Interfaith Housing Coalition in Montgomery County, Maryland. Jerry trained volunteers from each congregation to support the families in a range of ways, including household and personal items, work coaching, educational coaching, and sometimes transportation. Jerry obtained a few donated cars and gave them to the families in need of one. During this time, Jerry also obtained her master's degree in theological studies from Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., graduating cum laude. This was in addition to her first degree in business administration, achieved while raising 3 small children and graduating magna cum laude. Hughes Neighborhood Housing, a nonprofit, was formed with Jerry as the president. After 5 years of seeking funding and support from the local, state, and federal governments, a 24-unit, 3-story apartment building was constructed and populated with previously homeless individuals. Some were physically disabled, some were mentally challenged, and the mix worked. Hughes Neighborhood Housing partnered with a management company that already assisted both populations, and that company operated the day-to-day needs of the apartment building and its occupants. Jerry DeWitt. Heidi Kent. Heidi was born in Stuttgart, Germany in 1939 and immigrated to the U.S. in 1962. She worked for a German company where she started as a bilingual secretary and then worked her way up to be the executive assistant. She has submitted work to art shows in Fort Myers, North Fort Myers, Cape Coral, and was privileged to have her own art show at Southport Square. She co-chaired the Crafters program at Southport Square, which has held several charity events to support the outside community. During COVID, they sewed 360 masks for the Harbor Health Center before masks were readily available. She has served on several committees at Southport Square, as well as being a treasurer for the Pancake Breakfast, the proceeds of which go to the Employee Appreciation Gift Fund. She currently serves as the president of the Garden Club. The garden looks amazing. Heidi Kent. Janice Hyen. Janice was a Hoosier and graduated with a BA and an MA from Purdue University and a BS and a PhD from Indiana University. She won a scholarship from Purdue to study for a year at the University of Madrid and another from the Ford Foundation to study in Columbia. She majored in Hispanic and French literature and spent a year in Peru preparing to write her doctoral dissertation. Her MS was in teaching English as a second language. After graduation, she studied French at McGill University in Montreal, the University of Montreal, the University of Toronto's program on a French island in the North Atlantic called Saint-Pierre, also at Ohio State University, at the University of Louisville, Kentucky, and at the Sorbonne at the University of Paris. I hope I said all of those correctly. Later, Janice lived for 8 years in Panama, 4 years teaching Hispanic literature and English as a second language at the University of Panama. After that, she spent 4 years in Panama working for the Department of Defense. The military provided college classes for the soldiers on the different bases, so she taught Spanish for Florida State University at Fort Gulick. For 12 years, she has been a member of the Delta Kappa Gamma Society International for educators in Charlotte County and has helped with its program of providing funds to young college women who wish to become teachers. The society is currently sponsoring 7 students. During the past 8 years, she has presented over 90 talks to the residents and has enjoyed singing in various programs. Janice Hyen.
I had 7,000 students.
I'll have to update my literature here. Judith Lackland. Judith elected nursing and chose the Massachusetts General Hospital School of Nursing because it was part of Harvard University and in Boston, not New Jersey. She graduated at the top of her class and moved to New York City, where she became the head nurse of a psychiatric unit at Mount Sinai Hospital. She moved back to New Jersey and enrolled as a full-time student in biochemistry at Georgian Court College, a small women's college run by the Sisters of Mercy. She graduated with honors in 2 years. After graduation, she began work at Worthington Biochemical Corporation, developing enzymes and testing kits for industries. Judith Lackland. So another piece that was left out, Judith received her doctorate. She said that's the best part. So, you know, when you're taking bullet points out of everything, you miss some of the good stuff. So, amazing stories still to say. Next up, Karen McCarty. Karen was destined to take the path less traveled, to live and live fully in a way that speaks of gratitude and purpose. For her lifetime, Karen committed to making the most of every moment and enabling others to do the same. As a parent, teacher, and life partner to Bill McCarty, Karen shared her profound sense of gratitude and purpose through education in everyday life. With her husband's Alzheimer's diagnosis came a series of sometimes gradual, sometimes shocking life changes that the couple would navigate with grace. For 7 years, 7 days a week until January 8th, 2022, Karen relied on her sense of gratitude and purpose for the strength she needed to support Bill on his journey. In her trusty toolkit, Karen held the patience she learned as a parent, the skills she refined as a teacher, the resilience she developed through times of crisis, and most of all, a heart full of love. Each morning, Karen would wake with acceptance and adapt to her role and responsibilities. Wife, caregiver, teacher, and saint, wearing whichever hat the day summoned, with an unwavering sense of care. In Karen's expression, her words and her actions, Bill was immersed in a positive environment. He had every reason to look forward to each day. There was no other view of the world as far as Karen was concerned than a place they were so blessed to be together. Karen says her greatest achievement was using the life skills she learned as a school teacher and a mother to support Bill on his 7-year journey with Alzheimer's, where they continue to find joy and keep the faith every day. Karen McCarty. Marty Donovan. With all her children in school, Marty launched a home-based business offering secretarial support and after-school childcare to local psychologists. This led to a position at an answering service, then office manager at a theater lighting company where she worked until she retired. When not working, Marty enjoyed playing guitar and teaching guitar lessons to children. She and Ben also bowled, played tennis, camped in their motorhome, and played bridge with friends. At Southport Square, she has been active with several committees. With all this, Marty's greatest contribution to the Southport community is her unique brand of fun water exercise classes. I know many people in here probably have been to those classes before. Accompanied by familiar music, Marty leads her students through a series of movements to stretch and strengthen their muscles, move their joints, and get their blood flowing. These classes are also a great opportunity to mix and mingle with new friends and old. Marty's Tuesday and Thursday morning classes were so popular that she added a third class on Saturday. Marty Donovan.
I need direction.
Mary Ewell. As a 6-year-old, Mary was a star dancer, singer, and performed acrobatics in a traveling variety show in Maritime, Canada. Mary excelled in school and graduated as president of her class at Mount St. Vincent University with a major in business. After graduating from college, she joined the Sisters of Charity and was a nun for 26 years. During these years as a Sister of Charity, she received a master's degree in business from Columbia University in New York and taught at the high school and college level. Then Mary was elected Treasurer General of the Sisters of Charity. As Treasurer General, Mary was instrumental in developing and implementing a retirement program for the sisters, which is still in effect. She later took a position with the Atlantic Association of Universities to develop a common accounting system for roughly 20 universities. From there, she joined Mount St. Vincent University as an assistant to the president with responsibility for the finances of the university. While at MSVU, Mary was also appointed by the premiers of the 4 maritime provinces to serve on the Maritime Provinces Higher Education Commission. Mary Ewell.
There's too many watching me. I can't get away with it. Here.
Next up, Marilyn Hill. Marilyn was married right after college and worked as a parish visitor in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. When her husband made career moves, she found other jobs, including selling Cutco. She became a county social worker and then directed a Menominee Indian tutoring project. And then after all 5 of her children were in grade school, she attended classes at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin to complete her master's degree in sociology. She taught sociology at Concordia College in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Huron College, South Dakota, and Lakeland College, Wisconsin. She won a Bush Leadership Award while living in South Dakota. This award had only been offered to male applicants previously, but when she won it, she could use it at any university. She chose the University of Minnesota, go Gophers, and accompanied by her 2 youngest children and the dog, she moved to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and completed her doctoral studies in 15 months. Another move led back to Wisconsin, and after teaching sociology again, she found a position at a social impact analyst with a civil engineering firm in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. She became the training manager for the firm and retired after 10 years. Her move to Southport Square has also given her leadership opportunities. She has been president of the Gables West Council and president of the Southport Square Resident Council. She has been the 4th floor resident council representative several times and was recently appointed to represent the 2nd floor residents. She is currently the secretary of the council and the local Flycra chapter. She has been the president twice of the local PEO chapter as well. She helped start the Southport Scholarship Program. At Pilgrim Church, she started a Stephen Ministry program in STARE, the Start the Adventure in Reading program, which helps 2nd graders from the Deep Creek School who are having problems with reading by giving them tutors from the church. In 2004, she was recognized as the Florida Laywoman of the Year by the United Church of Christ. Marilyn Hill.
Can I start over here? Yeah, it was be lonely, but.
Nancy Deacon. Nancy was a junior counselor at Girl Scout camp during her high school years, teaching canoeing and rowing. She has held leadership positions in the Grange, Girl Scouts, and her youth group at church. Nancy was a member of the ballet swim team in college. As a young mother and over a 6-year period, she researched, directed, and participated in the do-it-yourself completion renovation of an 11-room Georgian colonial farmhouse built in 1750. She was the resident director of a program to help minority students succeed in college for 3 years. Later, to recharge, she spent a year at sea with her family to reestablish the close family connections that had been tested during the previous 3 years. After that, Nancy took the time to learn and grow by returning to and completing college. She ran a 75-foot corporate sailing vessel in the Bahamas for 3 years, and finally settled down in Palm City, Florida as a production manager in a chemical plant, and was a library volunteer teacher of English as a second language, volunteering in elementary schools, American Cancer Society, and received the President's Volunteer Service Award for 7,300 documented hours of voluntary work in the community over a 6-year period. In Port Charlotte, she has been a library volunteer and taught ESL in the community. She enjoys biking, tennis, swimming, yoga, as well as art. Nancy Deacon. Marie Mcdermott. Marie never let the gender-biased restrictions of the early 20th century of being a woman prevent her from following her dreams. When she was in her early 20s, World War II erupted and her younger brother was drafted into the Army. Against her parents' wishes, she heeded the call and enlisted in the Waves, ready to do her part for the war effort. She served her country proudly and even today tries to attend her fellow women vet meetings. She landed a job at Lipton and began another career in the Consumer Services Department. When her boss retired, she did not think twice and applied for his position. She assumed the position and, of course, excelled. Eventually, the company had to increase her pay to an equitable level. Staying up with technology at the age of 101, she ordered a new iPad with a pretty case. Marie Mcdermott. I also double as a stagehand.
Good job.
Thank you. The one job I can do well today. All right. Nancy Logitowski. Nancy raised her 2 children and took care of the accounting for the family business for 15 years, after which Nancy envisioned opening a restaurant. She worked toward her vision, and from 1974 to 1989, she, along with Gordon, opened a pizza pub. Nancy enjoyed making the crusts, sauces, and the spaghetti. She worked as a team with her husband, and this helped the family bond as well as form a very successful business together. After moving to Southport Square, she was instrumental in starting the SPS Drama Club. She led the residents in the Lion King production, among several other productions. Currently, she helps lead the Pancake Breakfast, the proceeds of which go to the Employee Appreciation Gift Fund. The best part about Nancy is that she can work peacefully with several personalities and make wonders happen. Nancy Wojciechowski. Roberts. Pat went to Mercy Hospital from 1948 to 1951 for training to become a nurse. During that time, there was a polio epidemic. While in training, she took care of people with iron lungs. Many a times the fuses would blow and the iron lungs would lose power, so she had to learn to pump manually. She also used hydrotherapy for patients with polio. In the late 50s, she wrote the curriculum for the LPN program and taught the students for 3 years. She later designed a classroom for potential dropouts. The students were very hostile and had sour personalities. She accepted this challenge and shaped the students into successful professionals. Her biggest achievement was when the school principal walked in the classroom and was surprised to see a student who was on probation studying in the classroom. He had to hitchhike 3 towns away to get to her classroom. Pat Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pat Yost. Pat was born and grew up in Indiana and received her associate's degree from the University of Indiana. After her graduation, she started working at Southern Indiana Finance Company. She started with an entry-level job. With hard work and perseverance, she started climbing up the ladder. Throughout her career, she made it a point to listen and understand the problems faced by her staff members. Later, the Southern Indiana Finance Company merged with Citigroup, and Pat was promoted to be the vice president and later senior vice president of the Information Systems Department and oversaw 350 employees. She then retired from Citigroup and received the Diversity Award. Currently, she is president of the council at Messiah Lutheran Church. She listens to people in grief and provides support. She is a peacemaker and always thrives to make the world a better place to live. Pat Yost. Pearl Boyd. Pearl attended nursing school in Nicaragua, Central America. Since Pearl was not well versed in speaking Spanish at the time, she was initially denied admission. However, the medical director, who was not fluent in Spanish either, granted her the admission and kept her under his wing. She worked hard under his direction day and night, and he trained her in the operating room. She bandaged wounds, stitched the patients while she learned the language as well as nursing. She worked as an operating room supervisor in Brooklyn, New York. Later, she was the director of the operating room at Doctors Hospital in New York City, and then worked at the Manhattan Eye, Ear, and Throat Hospital, where she was the director of surgical services. While at the Manhattan Hospital, Pearl mentored several staff members. As of today, one of the staff members still sends her flowers, thanking her for being an amazing mentor. Pearl Boyd.
Together now.
All right. right, Peggy Harris. After graduating from University High School, Peggy started college at the University of Iowa with a double major in percussion and voice and a minor in piano. She was the first woman to declare a percussion major at that school. She moved to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where she started teaching percussion at West Music Company and soon started her own percussion studio. She also served as a percussionist with the Cedar Rapids Symphony and Cantata Singers. Her percussion students presented the first percussion recital in Cedar Rapids. A move to Des Moines, Iowa gave her the opportunity to resume her music degree at Drake University, where she received a Bachelor of Music Education in 1971 and began teaching in the Des Moines schools as well as a percussionist with the Des Moines Symphony. She eventually left teaching and became a legal assistant in municipal finance for several years. She then started volunteering for Lutheran Services Refugee Office and was hired to complete a 3-year grant for 40 young Dinka Sudanese refugees, the Lost Boys of Sudan. This led her to studying the history of the conflict both in the south and the north of Sudan. She was able to serve as a volunteer staff for 2 Lost Boys reunions held in the Washington, D.C. area at a summer camp. As a member of an advocacy group, Des Moines for Darfur, she developed a teaching team of Christian, Jewish, and Muslim representatives to help educate about the complexities of the conflict, including issues of ethnic cleansing and genocide. She was able to travel to Suzanne twice with the Episcopal Church, of which she is a member, to spend time in a local village and learn firsthand about the conflict. She then started studying Arabic, which led to the opportunity for intensive language study in Cairo, Egypt on 2 occasions. Peggy joined an ESL program at the Cultural Center here in Port Charlotte, where she started as a volunteer for 2 sessions and then was hired as a teacher when the instructor left suddenly. She has sung with the Southport Square Singers and continues to help rehearse and perform at the group as it evolves. She has held multiple positions in the resident council, including previous council president, and has led several discussion groups at Southport Square. Peggy Harris. Peg Fargo. Peg graduated with a degree in accounting from the University of Illinois. While she was working in the early 70s, she found it challenging to keep an accountant's job and not do just bookkeeping. She was able to convince the bank to offer free education to employees in good standing and was able to receive a full scholarship for an MBA degree from DePaul University in Chicago. There were other challenges she faced as she tried bursting through the glass ceiling. She worked for the bank until 1991, after which she worked as a CFO for 2 nonprofit companies in Chicago. She lives at Southport Square for the past couple of years, where she is on the finance committee. Peg Fargo. Phyllis Schwartz. Phyllis graduated from college with a BA degree as a home economics teacher. After teaching for several years, she left education to work as a home economist for a utilities company. She then was employed by a major sewing machine manufacturing company in their product development division. A return to education followed as an advisor consultant for a state agency where she served a 5-county area. After obtaining her MA in vocational education and taking doctoral classes in special education, she was employed by the state of New Jersey to head the vocational education program. Her last position before retiring was at a comprehensive facility for children who were severely disabled by cerebral palsy. She was the director of education until she retired. Over the 25-plus years in Arcadia, she volunteered in their Main Street program. They were the first small town to receive the designation. She also volunteered at the library and the hospital with the local Association for Retarded Citizens, or ARC, program and the local sheriff's office, And this last location, for about 10 years, she was responsible for the CASE. And I'm sure that is some acronym, but I didn't see what the CASE stood for. Communities Against Senior Exploitation. So I know that many of you go to Phyllis's chats on scams and stuff. Yes, scams with Phyllis. For approximately 3 years, she volunteered at the Arcadia Hospice Program, first in the office, and then when the hospice house opened, she gave time there as well. Her work with Tidewell Hospice was most rewarding. She also volunteers in our library at our monthly pancake breakfast, serves as a floor leader for the 5th floor, Gables East, and vice president of resident council, and an ambassador for the sales department. Phyllis Schwartz. Ruth Netterville. Ruth studied interior design for home furnishing from Penn State University. She also became a tour guide for the Amish people and would narrate the Amish history on tour buses from Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Connecticut. After moving back to Michigan, she joined the Civic Newcomers Club and later became the president of the club. The sales and marketing executives met in Grand Rapids, and shortly she became the executive director of the group. Later she decided to do the real estate, and later got her limited partnership license, and later formed her own real estate company. Over the years, she was instrumental in forming several musical groups: Four Leaf Strummers, Banjos, the Suncoast Dulcimer Society, Hammered Dulcimers, Appalachian Strings, which were Appalachian Dulcimers, Harmonicas, and Mount Airy's, a mix Mount Dulcimers. Did I get all that correct? Hopefully. In art, she has discovered a way to incorporate abstract art with other forms such as haiku, which is Japanese poetry, or Zentangle designs. She is also a poet and has achieved the laureate designation, has published books and enjoyed sharing the joy of poetry with others. She is most proud of having her poem, Welcome Home, the only featured poem from the United States in the International Who's Who in Poetry. Her 5-verse poem, Sweet Seasons, is engraved in a beautiful granite tombstone in a cemetery in Michigan. Ruth Netterville. Ruth Schaefer. After high school, Ruth passed the certification exam for the police department. She started working as an executive assistant to the judge of Boone County, Kentucky. She worked hard for several years, and then she was promoted to be the deputy judge. She maintained control records of the cases assigned to the judge as they were filed. She also examined all papers filed in an action assigned to the judge to determine that they conform with the rules of procedure. In the absence of the judge, she had to rule on several cases, including murder cases. After retiring to Florida in 1995, she coordinated all the events in the community she lived in. She runs the boutique for the United Methodist Church. The proceeds are utilized to feed the hungry. Ruth Schaefer. Sandra Parker. Sandra's education was completed in Cleveland at Western Reserve University and included an MA and PhD in English. She was asked to interview at a nearby college when her dissertation was behind her. She took their job in 19th century literature. She took a job in 19th century literature. Then she stayed for over 30 years, having taken postdoctorate courses at Oxford and receiving awards for her teaching and initiatives that included inventing a gender studies program and Cambridge Quarter that took students to England. After retiring early, she moved out of the Midwest and did some adjunct teaching at 2 local schools. One was the new FGCU, or Florida Gulf Coast University, right here in Fort Myers. She finished writing a biography of Ohio pioneer Francis Dana Gage, had it published, and lectured about this abolitionist. One highlight of her time here was her involvement in a series of programs about American musicals. When Lion King was developed, she entered town hall as the matriarch priestess who led the parade of costumed African animals. This still makes her smile. Over the years, she led many discussion groups, taught about writing, and supported Southport Square's dynamic activities program. Sandra Parker. Violet White. Violet experienced the full length of the Great Depression while she was in high school and worked in a bank until she got married. She, along with her husband, constructed a building for their realtor business on the corner of Marion and Taylor, where they worked together. They named it Phelps Realty, and their son, Craig, carried on the business for them after retirement and to this day. She's behind the row. She's trying to get through the row, so I'm gonna. As a centenarian, Violet has a very active lifestyle, and she thanks God for this. She also credits her husband's influence on living a happy, calm life amid their duties, a good mix. Her inspiration in life is to not have a plan, but to take it day by day because every day is a gift. Do not concentrate on the negatives, but be easygoing and surround yourself with positive people and try to see the best in others. It is not always about succeeding, but trying. Violet White. Next up, Wanda Bell. And I've been told Wanda had the most nominations. So just a note of that. Upon graduation, she was hired by AT&T in Kansas City, Missouri as a clerical typist. She moved through the ranks to management and retired 34 years later. Wanda has done counted cross-stitch for many years and still does. Cross-stitch is her chosen artistic outlet. Her inspiration is making unique pictures that are not the normal done with cross-stitch. Wanda moved to Southport Square in 2018, where she loves the life here. She enjoys playing the keyboard, organ, and clarinet for various groups as entertainment. This brings her a personal achievement from the people that enjoy the music. They miss the hymns when she's gone. The hymns bring several residents comfort. She also loves to play for the residents in the memory care neighborhood. Recognizing the needs of some individuals, Wanda has visited some residents just to talk, play some music, or even take their dog for a walk. During COVID and during the shutdown, she utilized FaceTime to keep in touch with an individual that may be a bit down and needed or like someone to talk with. Wanda Bell. few more entrants, and these came just toward the end, so we didn't get the full write-up here, but I do have a couple of things to say about these recipients. So the first I wanted to recognize Flora Swanson. Flora is a centenarian. Unfortunately, Flora is not able to be here today because she was sick. So I did want to recognize Flora for just the age and her story of her life that she shared. Gladys Salisbury. Is Gladys here? All right, Gladys Salisbury. Gladys, come on up. So Gladys Salisbury is another one of our centenarians that has lived here at Southport Square for many, many, many years. And I don't know the total number off the top of my head, but 20 plus years, I believe, here at Southport Square. Gladys was an accountant in her professional career during her time. Joyce Bratz. Joyce was, she was awarded the California State Legislator Woman of the Year Award in 1995. This award was for teaching children education in television. She created a television show, What If? Children were aged 8 through 15 years and were part of the show. 3 of the children later became producers in Hollywood. Joyce Bratz. Judy Davis. Judy's husband was a quadriplegic. Shortly after marriage, she took care of him as well as had foster children to care of. She later adopted one of the children. She completed her education late in life and got a master's in education and worked her way up to be a school principal. She volunteered at the Homeless Coalition for many years, as well as an usher at her church. Judy Davis. All right, those are all of our original recipients. So we would like, Smita had asked 3 individuals, myself, the mayor, and the president of our resident council, John Durotics, to pick one of the stories that maybe inspired us and to be able to share that story with you all today. So out of the recipients, I will call up, maybe we'll start with the mayor and let the mayor read her selection first.
For this, I'm going to need my glasses because I'm old and I can't see. Again, all of you ladies, my gosh, this is so total greatness and girl power all the way. I am so proud of all of you. I hope you are too. Yeah, this is a good I'm going to read one that stood out in my mind, probably because of the job that I hold. But this person resonated with me because she actually stood for a cause that is very, very, very important in our current life. We are all in a position to try to help people find a place to live. In our current climate, with all of the affordable housing issues that have been brought up in all different levels of government, whether it's city, county, state, federal, it doesn't matter. We all have a common denominator, and that is being able to locate affordable housing for all of our workforce people and some of the seniors. I mean, it's just been a horrible, horrible problem. And so this resume really resonated with me, and that is the resume of Jerry DeWitt. And I'm going to read her resume. On a mission in Montgomery County, Maryland, Jerry Kane, who later became Jerry DeWitt, served the interests of homeless families in the late 1980s as Executive Director of Interfaith Housing Coalition in Montgomery County, Maryland. The coalition was made up of congregations in all Christian denominations and a couple of Jewish synagogues. It grew from 40 congregations in Bethesda to over 20 congregations countywide. The coalition's mission was to provide 5-year transitional housing for homeless families. Jerry, being the only paid staff initially, located housing that the coalition could buy, working with the Housing Opportunities Commission and utilizing a county law called MPDU, moderately priced dwelling units. If only we had a couple thousand of those right now. The law required that builders building over 50 houses at a time assign 11% of their construction to MPDU. Some of those properties were bought by the coalition via Jerry's efforts. Jerry also worked with a Baptist endeavor called Green Tree Shelter, where homeless families were assisted. Jerry interviewed families for a suitable fit for the coalition's 5-year transitional program. The parents had to be willing to work on their self-sufficiency and were asked to work with volunteer teams from the coalition's congregants and participate in a routine of case management, also Jerry's responsibility. Jerry trained volunteers from each congregation to support the families in a range of ways, including household and personal items, work coaching, educational coaching, and sometimes transportation. Jerry obtained a few donated cars and gave them to the families in need of one. The focus of the coalition's effort was the children. Homeless children have a difficult time in school, and the effort was meant to give these 5 kids years of stability. And by the way, I don't know how many of you know this, but there's over 500 children in Charlotte County that are living in the woods, in their cars, in the woods. And it's a very, very real problem. So that's why this resonated with me. Volunteers worked with the school-age kids as needed, tailoring efforts to age and circumstances. After doing 4 years of case management, congregational volunteer team training, housing acquisitions, and congregation recruiting, Jerry asked the board of directors to hire a social worker to continue to support the families so that she could grow the organization. What started out as 4 congregations became over 20. What started out as 3 houses became over 30 houses during the decade that Jerry was the executive director. Over 50 kids and adults were assisted during Jerry's administration efforts, and 2 moms graduated from University of Maryland. Nearly all of the parents obtained jobs and were successful at maintaining housing after they left the coalition's program. During this time, Jerry also obtained her master's degree in theological studies from Wesley Theological Seminary in Washington, D.C., graduating cum laude. This was in addition to her first degree in business administration achieved while raising 3 small children and graduating magna cum laude. While advocating for housing for homeless families, Jerry became aware of a need for housing for single-family people with mental and physical impairments. The Housing Opportunities Commission had a waiting list of over 800 people. Jerry felt compelled to somehow assist these homeless singles, and a strange coincidence presented an opportunity. Hughes United Methodist Church in Wheaton, Maryland, Jerry's church, had access to nearly an acre of land next door that had been owned by WMATA for the red line of the subway built in the late 1970s. There was an air shaft on one corner, but otherwise undeveloped. The County Department of Housing and Community Development contacted the minister and said the congregation could purchase the land. The minister, Richard Hogue, announced on a Sunday morning that now the church could expand its parking lot. Jerry had other ideas. She spoke with Richard to propose a housing project instead of a parking lot. He suggested that Jerry form an exploration committee. Several people, all professionals, lawyers, accountants, finance consultants, and retired builders joined the effort. Hughes Neighborhood Housing, a nonprofit, was formed with Jerry as the president. No surprise. After 5 years of seeking funding and support from the local, state, and federal governments, a 24-unit, 3-story apartment building was constructed and populated with previously homeless individuals. Some were physically disabled, some were mentally challenged, and the mix worked. Hughes Neighborhood Housing partnered with a management company that already assisted both populations, and that company operated the day-to-day needs of the apartment building and its occupants. Jerry left Hughes Neighborhood Housing when the building and its programs were complete, and also left Interfaith Housing Coalition to resume her previous career of accounting. Nonprofits don't pay enough to put kids through college, and neighborhood housing was done as a volunteer. Jerry worked as a senior staff accountant for a CPA firm in Bethesda, moved over to a job as controller for a building company, and ended her career as a senior accountant for a bookkeeping service in Silver Spring, Maryland. Perhaps Jerry's greatest accomplishment was raising 3 kids while she was doing all of this, but her contribution to homelessness solutions was her joy, and for that I thank you.
Can I insert one little factoid that wasn't in there? I was the only woman in all of that.
Yes, so girl power, I'll say it even though I'm not a girl or a woman. Girl power, right? She is correct. And looking back, over the years, and I think the mayor put it very nicely in the fact that, it was not really socially acceptable for women to be in high-powered roles, way back in the day. It just wasn't the norm. And so for those women that have, kind of broken that glass ceiling and have done that over the years, it is very impressive to see and hear these stories. Very different back in those times, for sure. So you can see that these are some amazing stories, some long stories that we consolidated down for this program, but definitely some excellent stories. So we're going to continue on. John Dorotix has selected the story that had impacted him the most, and he'd like to share that with you all today as well.
Is that working okay? Okay. You have to bear with me. I chose this story, and it's appropriate that you're sitting right there. And I blame her for the long story. Okay, this was submitted by her daughter. Okay. I'm honored to be the daughter of a remarkable woman from the greatest generation. My mother, Marie Walter Mcdermott, was born in 1920, the year that Congress finally passed or ratified the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. I think that Mom must have sensed this female birthright, because she never let the gender biased restrictions of the early 20th century of being a woman prevent her from following her dreams. For instance, she told me that her family was willing to pay or finance the college education of her brother, but not for her, because money would be wasted on females who would only wind up married with kids. This was the 1930s mindset of many of the time, but it didn't stop Mom. After working long hours as a secretary in New York City's Rockefeller Center, she commuted via subway to Columbia and furthered her education by taking night classes. When she was in her early 20s, World War II erupted, and her younger brother was drafted into the Army. Against her parents' wishes, she heeded the call and enlisted in the waves. Ready to do her part for the war effort, she served her country proudly and even today tries to attend the fellow women vets meetings. As a young girl, I was impressed by her stories, by the stories of her waves adventures, and even more so, her travels after the war. Mom did not settle down as expected by her family. She boarded a bus with wave girlfriends and traveled across the country, and even worked in California for a time. Sometimes I chuckle when she wonders why her children live in different parts of the United States. Must be something in the genes. After the war, she married my dad and settled into the role of wife and mother, but she was not the traditional mom. She juggled cooking, housework, and more. Importantly, the raising of 5 children. Since my dad was not very good at fix-it jobs, Mom would tackle all kinds of non-traditional household tasks, from repairing the toilet to painting a ceiling with 5 children in tow. I remember once that she literally saved the house from burning down by throwing blankets on a fire that my little brother had started. After working for the Lipton Tea Company one summer while I was in college, I encouraged Mom to apply for a position there. Of course, she landed the job and began another career in the customer service department. When her boss retired, she did not think twice and applied for the position. At that time, men were in the management ranks, but Mom persevered. The company even sent her for an interview with a psychologist. To make sure she could handle the job. Of course, she could. Mom was offered his job with the caveat that she could not expect the salary that her boss received. That was just not done. She did not waste time grumbling. She assumed the position and, of course, excelled. Eventually, the company had to increase her pay to an equitable level. But it took her some time to pay her dues and break the Lipton's glass ceiling. After strong women like Mom, other women were promoted and furthered their salaries. After her retirement from Lipton, Marie became caretaker for my dad, who had macular degeneration, which left him with poor eyesight. Mom still found time for keeping fit with daily pool exercise and took art lessons. The walls of her condo apartment and our homes are filled with her creations. When Richard and I retired and moved to Punta Gorda, Mom decided she liked Punta Gorda. I told you, it's her fault. But I wanted to read this because she is an inspiration to me. She lives on the same floor I do, just a couple doors down. And I just admire her very much. She decided to move to Southport Square and today lives independently. At age 90, she relocated there and met a host of new friends. When she called CenturyLink to order high-speed internet, they told her that they just did not have many requests from Southport Square for that kind of service. When they found out that she was 90, they decided to do the installation for free. She has fun on the computer with her football pool and keeping up with her grandchildren on Facebook and email. Why, just 2 weeks ago, she decided that she wasn't getting enough outdoor exercise, so she went over to Acme Bike and ordered herself a recumbent bicycle. Thanks, Mom, for being a role model to the women of our family and to others along the way. Now we're not done. We're not done. No, I didn't write it. No one can believe she is 101 years old. For example, over the past 8 years, she has traveled to grandchildren's weddings in Italy, Cape Cod, and California, and visited her daughter, Mary's family in Connecticut. She's had her she's had her challenges. In 2017, she took a fall and broke her shoulder. And this sidelined her for a while. However, her positive spirit and comprehensive attitude in physical therapy helps her continue on with her active Southport Square life. You cannot achieve her age without lots of challenges. The pandemic and the isolation was really hard on Mom. Recently, her best friend of 10 years, Norma Jean Rich, passed. Despite it all, Mom looks to the future and remembers the good times. She traded in her 3-wheel bike for a red scooter. Just today, she ordered a new iPad with a pretty case. She wants to play a Scrabble game, Words with Friends, with her family, and of course, order from Amazon Prime. She delightfully anticipates every Southport Square event and loves playing. I think one more. I gotta read it, you gotta listen. And loves playing cards and games with her friends. Her Catholic faith sustains her, and although it is hard to attend Mass, she is sure to watch it online. Thank you for considering my mom for this special honor. I know she will be honored and feel gratitude for acknowledging her. I didn't tell them about the sippy cup.
All right, another excellent story. So I also got the opportunity to pick a story that had impacted me, and the story that I chose really was kind of twofold. One, I used to work in hospitals, and so in working in hospitals, you get to see kind of the latest advancements in health technology and some of the things that are enlisted today to help people recover or to fight off disease. And it's impressive to think, years back, all of the people that contributed to making it what it is today. So we just don't, uncover these things from a rock and all of a sudden, we have robots and lasers and everything else. It's years and years of people working on it. And so Donna Rinaldi's story impressed me significantly. With that, I'm going to read you her story, but very much so. I said it was twofold. The second part was the role that I play today in working here as an executive director at Southport Square. We are very involved in healthcare through our skilled nursing, assisted living, and memory care, and seeing some of the things that she had lobbied to get started many years ago. Those are areas that I think have benefited a great number of people since then, and would not have been possible without Donna lobbying that back in the day. So, would like to read Donna's story. Donna Rinaldi was born in Broyard, West Virginia. She became a registered nurse in 1960. In her first job, she worked at a hospital that had a small wing for polio patients. She requested to work there as she could be hands-on as well as help patients who were less fortunate. She acquired education on iron lungs and learned how to take care of it mechanically. She was flown to Texas Rehab, which had 1,000 beds. She learned a lot and wanted to establish a similar setup in West Virginia. She started talking to the doctors, and after World War II, as the soldiers started coming back with disabilities, she received a full scholarship for the nursing rehab program in Boston University. This was the only nursing rehabilitation program in the country. Since the start, the state health plan couldn't pay for it. She went to the governor's office and talked to the legislators and lobbied for it. Shortly, the funds were made available, and the hospital decided to build the rehab center. She headed the steering committee and recruited doctors as well as nurses. The hospital built a 150-bed rehab center. They ordered all the necessary equipment, and she was able to train everyone in 1.5 years. She traveled around the entire state of West Virginia, providing awareness as well as education about the program. It was a very successful program, and they were able to expand further by adding outpatient rehab as well as home health. Home health was challenging as the roads were not marked. Other challenges came along with the insurance companies, who were not ready to pay for the equipment needed for functional independence. So again, she lobbied and was able to force the insurance companies to pay for the equipment, and they were made available to the patients for free. At that time, children with spina bifida were not accepted in school due to bladder and bowel issues. She immediately contacted with the Teachers Association and provided lessons to teachers on how to care for children with these issues. This gave a chance for several children to graduate. Over a period of 30 years, the patients were able to gain functional independence. However, this caused further struggles as there were no accessibility law for the disabled individuals. She again lobbied and went to Congress. This helped to establish the American Disabilities Act. Several ramps were built as they received tax rebates for doing so. So the children who sat in dark rooms were now able and more mobile and could participate in Special Olympics. Currently, Donna is not in the best of health. However, impacting so many lives in such a positive manner continues to be her source of inspiration, and mine as well. Thank you, Donna Rinaldi. All right, well that concludes our ceremony here today, but before we leave, I wanted to say a special thank you to Mayor Lynn Matthews for being here today from the city of Mcdermott. Also a hero to many, and we appreciate what you do. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We have some flowers here for you, Smita has brought, so thank you for participating today. We're very thankful. So in closing, we just asked everybody, we will hold a reception right after. I believe it's set up out in the village area, so you're welcome to make your way out there. Please take your time.